Welcome to On the Beat, where we bring you a different Buffalo Bills beat reporter every week, exclusively on the Overreaction Sports Network.
Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into On the Beat, brought to you exclusively on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe, a show where, as Bruce Nolan just said, we bring you a different interview with a Buffalo Bills beat reporter or journalist every single week, and we talk about the topics swirling around our beloved Buffalo Bills. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, alongside typically my co-hosts John Fina and Jerry Ostrowski, but they will not be joining us for this episode. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe, whatever platform you are viewing this vidcast on right now, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. Please like it. Please subscribe if you can. If you're listening to it in post as a podcast, same thing. Do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe, please review. Also, share it with a friend if you know somebody that you think would enjoy the content that John, Jerry, and myself are bringing you every single day. We would love for you to share that with them. But now joining us on this episode of On the Beat, super excited. I'm excited to be joined by this guest, Bills NFL insider from WGRZ Channel 2 here in Buffalo and co-host for press coverage on SiriusXM Radio. And let's just be honest, Buffalo Bills and NFL sports legend Vic Carucci. Vic, I'm very excited to have you on. How are you doing?
Quite an introduction, but I am doing great, especially after that intro, Joe, and always wonderful to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's this to me, as I said before we came on, you are a voice from all through the 90s Bills years, obviously in the 80s Bills years. I'm 51, like all through that whole, I was a kid when the Bills were really bad, and then Jim came, and then like through that whole ascension, and you were always there, and just your voice is just that voice that rings in my head when I think of Bills, along with obviously Van Miller and some others. So yeah, I'm way more excited to have you with me than you are to have me with you.
No. I'm again thrilled to be on. I love the setup, what you guys have done. Had the great opportunity to do the first appearance with John Fina, and of course John, Jerry Ostrowski, two now friends. We can call each other friends. When I was covering the team, not always friendly, and it really shouldn't be. You got to kind of keep that arm's length professional relationship. But I will say this: O linemen are always your go-to. That's why you got your podcast is so successful, because O linemen are the go-to people for journalists, because they're involved in every play, and they see the game, I always say, from the inside out, and generally provide you with the best insights.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, and this is kind of off script. I love the stories between the two of them because they're so different. John being a first-round draft pick, Jerry being undrafted, cut from 3 teams, joins the practice squad with Buffalo, and then Joe Marino has actually, and I'm still looking for somebody to research this, but Joe Marino has come out and said that he believes Jerry Ostrowski is the only NFL offensive lineman to play significant snaps at 4 different positions across the offensive line. Like, he's the only one in NFL history. He couldn't think of anybody else that has done that. He's played obviously left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, and he never played left tackle because of John Fina.
That's possible. The only name that comes to mind is Bruce Matthews.
Yep.
Who, but I don't know that he did 4. I'm positive he did 3.
Yeah.
He do 4. That would be the only one I might question, and what am I going to do when this show's over? I'm going to go look it up. But anyway,
it's just amazing. And just to hear the different viewpoints that they have, it's a special thing for me to be a part of this with them. So, and then obviously to be able to bring guys like yourself on, it's just surreal in a lot of ways. So thank you for being here. I'm not going to keep you too long, about 20, 25 minutes or so, but let's jump right into just some topics that are obviously swirling around the Bills as they're getting ready to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday Night Football, this coming Monday night here at Highmark Stadium. So from an injury standpoint, 3 significant or concerning injuries for the Buffalo Bills: Terrell Bernard, obviously Taron Johnson, and Josh Allen. 3 days ago, coach said that they were working on whether or not Bernard was going to have to go to IR. I know that they're on a break right now, so there's not a lot of information coming out. Just wondering if you could kind of update us or if you have any information on Terrell Bernard, and is that probably going to be the most likely destination for him for at least 4 weeks?
Yeah, because of the nature of their schedule, having played on a Thursday and not playing again on a Monday, there is a wider expanse between the games, and therefore, as far as an injury update or any substantive information, it's very limited. I don't know anything, quote, inside to tell you on that. My general feeling, very, very anecdotally here, would be pectoral injury. The fact that they didn't declare him out for the year, to me, is a win here.
Yeah.
All the initial reporting on this that we've seen nationally has had it as, something that, and then the team saying too, that, something that would keep him out weeks perhaps as opposed to months. So if I had to just give you what I would be a confident answer, I don't expect him in the lineup against Jacksonville.
No.
But again, how much longer would he be out is the question. And then Balen Spector, who I think did a very credible job in his place. The guy whose injury could be very helpful, whose recovery could be helped a lot by this break, would be Taron Johnson.
Yeah.
Again, not knowing the extent of this forearm injury, but one that didn't cause him to go on IR. He's already had, a game to rest, and now this long stretch. Could he be in the lineup against Jacksonville? It would come in very handy against what I think, if I'm just looking at it, would be as challenging, maybe the most challenging of the three opponents they've faced from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And Taron, it was good, obviously, and Coach addressed that as well, that they didn't put Taron on IR. So you got to think he's getting close. Again, it's going to probably come back to a brace or how much he can, handle the pain level as far as that goes. The question, and John, Jerry, and I talked about it on our Sunday show, just the sustainability of the level of play that this defense, how sustainable do you think it is for them to keep playing? They're not playing suffocating defense. They're not world beaters, but they're making the right plays at the right times. Do you think that this is sustainable with Balen Spector, with Cam Lewis, with Jamarcus Ingram, names that are great that we're hearing these pop up because they're not the big flagship names, Milano and all these guys, but is this sustainable in your opinion?
Well, I'm going to answer this by also weaving in the third part of your question, which I didn't specifically address, Josh Allen, with that left hand, which again is not listed as anything. A lot of speculation that it's broken, that you don't have two fingers taped inside that glove if you don't have something more serious than just a big bruise on the hand.
Right.
The team not saying anything. That's not been revealed, and I am saying that very much on a speculative way, that or sharing what you're very well aware, and others of what is suspected. But then again, he's playing, and sustainability is what I was focusing on here. How sustainable is that going to be? Because you saw in that very first game what was needed against an Arizona Cardinals team that I think was woefully underestimated to win that game. It was Josh doing all of what he did, and that almost wasn't enough as the way that game went. Now we'll see how he is managed from a run contact standpoint. Again, he's got that right hand to throw. But how much are they going to be affected as an offense by the limitation of keeping him out of harm's way? My sense is that, yes, he's had a lot of extra time here for healing, but is it going to be, what are we going to see Monday night? That will be an interesting thing. To your points about the defense, no, I don't sit here and believe that you keep taking away starters if they're not in the lineup. That your level of play is going to continue to be what it was. Look, they did a great job. The backups, obviously, against Miami, give them all kinds of credit. I thought, Jamarcus Ingram especially, but, Cam Lewis holding his own, Balen Spector holding his own. You had a very poor performance by Tua Tagovailoa long before he got hurt.
Right.
And I think that coupled with an overall poor play by the Dolphins offensively. And I saw that on film watching their game against Jacksonville. I was thoroughly unimpressed and said, okay, this is a great opportunity for the Bills to go down there, and they might win big. I had said that. I didn't go out and I don't do like loud predictions, but in discussions with my wife and others, I just said, this is feeling to me like a game that is the Bills to lose. It's in their hands. And because again, the Dolphins just didn't and still don't impress me. Now it's a different story because we got to see what the next chapter is with Tua. But when your defense gets you 17 points, it affects everything. It not only takes pressure off the offense, but it allows the defense strategically to do a lot of different things. When you've got that early, easy cushion. It was, I'm not going to say they took the rest of the night off, but it kind of felt like that. How much work really needed to be done? Hand it off, be smart with the ball, basically, manage the game well, and you win. But game in and game out, in beginning Monday night, I think more games, Joe, are going to look like that opener in terms of needing, even when you get a cushion of a lead, needing to stay with it to the very end.
So I'm not going to have any fingernails, is what you're telling me, by probably week 8, week 9 of the season. Talking with Vic Carucci, NFL insider here in Buffalo. So Josh Allen and the injury. So there was a video of him getting off the bus in Miami, and he takes his duffel bag and it was in his right hand, and he basically tosses it over to his left hand, and he catches it in his left hand and collapses his fingers, which tells me that hand isn't broken. But my goodness, like I don't know if you ever saw Happy Gilmore. Jerry Ostrowski was like, he looked like Chubbs, the way that it looked like a prosthetic hand. It didn't look like a real hand, the way that it was like it was strapped down so tight. The question I have about Josh's injury, specifically with you guys asking him questions, is how coy he's being about it. The responses to the questions you ask, he smiles, he goes, "I'm all right." And then that's it. And then nobody asks any more questions. And does that bother you a little bit? Are you looking for a little more? Because it's just odd that I'm all right.
I've always. Are we looking for a little more? You want everything. I mean, in our business, you want everybody to be forthcoming. And that's not reality. Right. But here's the thing: when it comes to injuries, the NFL's protocol, its procedures, in terms of reporting them and being forthcoming and honest about them. I mean, we've seen a lot of, if not skirting, flat out breaking of rules when it comes to all of a sudden Christian McCaffrey, nobody had that on their radar, that he was hurt as bad as he was.
Right.
And his Achilles, and what is it and how bad is it? Well, it's bad enough that not only is he on IR for at least 4 weeks, but you listen to the Adam Schefters and other media and national media insiders, they're telling you it's probably going to be longer than that because of fear that thing could pop on him.
Right.
And so what is the team's obligation to let that information out? To your point about coy, has nothing to do with personal feelings. You be whatever you want to be. I've never found never is a hard word, but frustration with, if I had a bad interview and a guy's just giving 1-word answers, sure, it gets you like annoyed because where are you going with this? But only when you're trying to put a piece together. And my attitude always was, with or without you, I will do the piece. I will find a way to get the piece done.
Right.
The point about injury information and revelation is what? Gambling. Which is as big a presence as it's always been, a gigantic, massive presence. Let's not even suggest that from the time long before you were born, Joe, and I was covering this league, or long before you were old enough that you're not that young a guy, but you're, when I was in my early days of fandom, and then covering the game, we know gambling was always there in the quote illegal sense. Now that it's a full-on partnership with the NFL and the gambling websites and prop bets and all that, and it's incorporated into everything you consume with football, the information and the quality of the information and when it's revealed and so forth, how it comes out is critical to the integrity of it all. Right. I mean, the fastest way to get people turned off to your product is play games with that information that affects how they make their gambling investments.
Yeah, for sure. Sticking on the Josh Allen topic, do you feel it's early in the season, but kind of coming off of that Dolphins game and the way that it played out offensively for the Bills rather, do you feel that we're finally looking at the preferred execution of what the Josh Allen offense is maybe going to be, getting a lot of help like Pat Mahomes and being Superman with the super throws only when they're needed, so handing the ball off a lot? Or do you think that's more of a derivative of that hand injury and keeping him limited in kind of like what he's trying to execute?
Yeah, hard to say, again, how much the injury factors into that thinking, but it would be hard for me to believe that it doesn't factor in. In general, I think they're doing what they're built to do right now. They don't have a dynamic receiver that I can see. I don't believe there is one in this group. I think it's a committee of guys who run patterns, maybe make some efficient plays. Again, Khalil Shakir will give you that play here and there from the slot, and usually those aren't your game breaker guys. The expectation that Dalton Kincaid was going to be maybe a poor man's version of Travis Kelce, or at least on his way to becoming that guy. So far, zero evidence of that. Keon Coleman is just there running. What's he doing? Not much of anything. Doesn't shock me because I didn't see anything going into the season, in camp, in the preseason, that said to me, "Oh yeah, they've got their answers." That Stephon Diggs, forget him. You've got. No, you're still remembering him because they don't have anything like that. They don't even have anything, I think, like Gabe Davis, who they'll see Monday night from Jacksonville. So it's a different offense. Running is going to be a part of it. Balance is going to be a part of it. Efficiency, I think, will be a part of it. And, ball control, power, that's what they want. And if these receivers do anything consistently well, their downfield blocking is really good. That seems to be, when they set this roster, that was like a prerequisite, I thought, of the coaching and personnel staffs.
Yeah, very good. Moving to the Jacksonville Jaguars game on Monday night. You've been covering the NFL for a very long time, and I think everyone agrees in the whole philosophy, the saying, the adage that any given Sunday, right? Everybody talks about it. However, it seems like some teams just have other teams' numbers, right? No matter what you do, you just struggle against that team. What is it about McDermott and Allen? I guess this is still a Dolphins question, but I'm gonna parlay it into the Jacksonville Jaguars. What is it about McDermott and Allen that they just seem to play good football against the Dolphins? And then conversely, a little bit of concern with the fact that the Jaguars seem to kind of have the Bills number at the same time when you think about it.
I learned a long time ago from Bill Polian that the NFL should be seen, or football in general. I mean, I'm sure it would apply to the collegiate level, but specifically about the NFL, is a matchup game. And I said, okay, break that down for me. And it's similar to what you're saying in terms of how you match up against certain teams, but it's the matchups within the matchup, right? The game matchup, and then how the style of play, quality of talent, and what individuals do better against certain individuals. I think one way that one thing that the Jags have had on a consistent basis, they've been pretty good with their offensive line. They've been, generally good with receivers who can get separation and find seams and holes. Now, we'll see what their passing game looks like, going into this game. It hasn't been overly impressive the last 2 weeks, but that's a lot of Trevor Lawrence that I think comes into play on that. And then defensively, they've got a really good pass rush. The artist formerly known as Josh Allen on their team is a beast, and he'll give this offensive line some problems. So far, Josh has somewhat enjoyed a reasonably good pocket. Yes, he ran quite a bit in that first game, more than I think you'd want him to, but there were 4 runs that were the defining runs of the game, 2 for touchdowns, 2 for fourth down conversions, tough runs. I don't think you want to do that game in and game out. You just don't.
Right.
And I think this game will be, one where they're going to have some good chipping and good strategies that deal with that rush, convert and then flip it over from an offensive from a defensive standpoint, getting pass rush on Trevor Lawrence, getting him uncomfortable off his spot. And if you think back to some of the more recent games, he's had too much time back there.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, talking with Vic Carucci, NFL Insider, with Channel 2 as well as SiriusXM NFL Radio. It's interesting you talk about Trevor Lawrence, and he kind of had the quote of the week when he basically just said, "We suck on offense right now." However, when he described the rest of what was going on inside of that interview question, he talked about communication and the lack of communication. He said, "I feel like there's just some communication issues," and then he went on to basically describe what read to me or sounded to me like they've got preparation issues, that guys aren't in their playbooks. They don't know the coverage assignments. They don't know the checks at the line. It sounded like there was more going on there than Trevor Lawrence is just not playing good football and we suck on offense. I don't know if how much you've dug into that or heard that, but it just was alarming to me.
No, I heard it. I can't say I was alarmed by it because since getting his new contract, that on an average basis puts him second in the league, whatever it is. I know Dak's at the top, but he has felt a stronger obligation to be this leader, be more vocal. The criticism of Trevor early on was that did he care enough about football? Did it mean that much to him?
Right.
Excuse me. Were losses? Did the losses pain him as much as wins gave him joy?
Right.
And I think that was him being an honest version of what he is. He used the media to a great degree to send a message to teammates. But the bigger thing is not what he said publicly. I heard the same thing you did. But the bigger thing to me, what went through my mind, how are things going in the meeting room? Like, is that getting through in the meeting room?
Right. So is his presence, is his whatever you want to call it, that leadership, just that it factor, is it shining through? It's funny because the inverse is true of the McDermott teams. Generally speaking, they're overwhelmingly prepared, which is why we see a lot of their backups shine when they get called into action. There have been a couple times when maybe they haven't been as prepared. I can think back to a couple games, the Colts Jonathan Taylor game when he rushed 230 something yards he rushed against. There was just a couple games like that, but generally speaking, coaches, McDermott's teams aren't in that side. The Jags have won 4 of the last 6 games against the Bills. However, the Jags have lost 7 of their last 8 games going back to last season. And you kind of touched on it a second. What do the Bills need to do to not end up on the wrong end of this thing?
I would say first it is to get more plays out of their passing game. I mean, make their passing game effective enough that it has to have more respect from the defense. Now, people will hear that and say, "Wait a minute, you're not respecting Josh Allen,
right?
Whose gigantic face is all over the Statler that can be seen from miles into Lake Erie." No, I don't mean it that way. I mean, again, this receiving core and how they're utilizing it. The trends that are going to come out of studying when the Jaguars study these first 2 games is what you are able to do defensively because of what the Bills aren't doing offensively. I imagine there is going to be by formation, by pre-snap motion. You're going to see some different looks for sure. I don't think it's a full-on sellout to throw the ball more. It'll be incorporated with the balance of the run game. I think the backs, when you've got that kind of pass rush, you want that the Jags have. You want to draw that pressure in, have them be overly aggressive, and then take advantage of that with those screens and those side, those receiver screens, bubble screens, throws to receivers to running backs as well as receivers. Miami's tried to predicate its whole offense on that. The problem with that was they were doing it when teams didn't come in with over pursuit. You had linebackers, you had safeties, you had nickelbacks. The Bills were positioned to take away most of that perimeter attack. I think when Buffalo does it, or Joe Brady does it, and I'm not saying I'm in his playbook or his game plan. I'm just saying I would suspect that's a way to get some things going. Get a Curtis Samuel, get some stronger run after catch plays going, and that keeps them at bay a little bit. It gets their attention. The other thing would be Trevor. Get him. You got to get the heat on him.
Yeah.
Now, Mitch Morse as a center for him, there's a lot that he knows and sees and can anticipate for Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be helpful. Now, things will be changed up. Nomenclature, all that. It's not like his inside knowledge is going to make a difference, but he's had a good enough. He's first of all so bright, so insightful, so deep in his understanding of the game. He will prep not only his quarterback, not only his fellow offensive linemen, but the coaching staff on both sides.
Excellent. I got maybe 1.5 more questions for you, and we'll let you out of here. But before I do, Vic, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your content, if they want to hear more from you, because the stuff you're dropping on this show is pretty awesome. Well,
appreciate that. Well, first of all, on when it comes to Bills stuff, WGRZ TV. If you're not able to view it where you are, certainly go to our YouTube channel. We have such great content there. John Scott, sports director, the sports staff with Jonathan Acosta and Lindsey Moppert. They do a wonderful job of breaking things down, and I work with them. We often record elements together. I write for the WGRZ.com website, so both. There's usually video content and written content. The video content is embedded in my written pieces. So I'll have, before each game, like a 5 thoughts, and then after each game, I do 5 takeaways. I try to give you these elements, and then for those who subscribe to SiriusXM channel 88, you can catch us every Saturday morning. When I say us, Dan Leberfeld, my longtime co-host, who covers the Jets and is based in New York. We're on from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time, and it's a ball. We preview in season. Of course, we preview every single game. We give a review of the Thursday night game because we go on Saturday after that game, of course. And then in our first segment, and then after that, it's and we have great guests. I mean, whether they're media people who cover the teams. Players, coaches, it's a partnership that Sirius has with the NFL. So we have the ability to get some very, very good guests.
Yeah, you are a busy man, Vic.
And I'm supposed to be I'm allegedly semi-retired. My wife will laugh at that one too. Yeah.
So not off of the topic conversation, as far still Bills related. But I wanted to ask you this: where do you rank Sean McDermott all time amongst the Buffalo Bills head coaches, having covered the Bills as long as you have? Obviously, I'm guessing you're going to say Marv is 1, but where do you put Sean in that list?
Yeah, it's hard to not call the head coach who took this team to 4 consecutive Super Bowls, or the general manager who they worked in concert. That duo.
Yeah.
And by the way, they have bronze busts in Canton, Ohio. So it's very, you can't, any challenge of that, any discussion that says, are they really the best? No, stop, don't even start the discussion. So what you're asking me is, where does he rank below those two?
100%.
Okay. I should say below Marv, because you're asking about coach. But I'm going to talk about it as a duo, because I do think Brandon Beane is every bit part and parcel to all the success that this team has mostly enjoyed, but it's been regular season success. And, they'll tell you, they've told me, they've got to win something. Okay. Division championships don't get it done. I mean, there's pride in that. It matters. It's your ticket to the postseason. But in terms of what they've been at this long enough. When you go from 2017 now to the 2024 season, it's not about playoff appearances. Joe, you and I sit here today after 2 games. Generally, I know I'm saying this pretty loosely when we encompass all the people who have an emotional tie to the Bills. Generally, we expect them to be a postseason team.
That's right.
You don't. I mean, you do. Now, I've heard silly talk like, "Oh, they're going to only win 5 this year. They lost too many people." That was idiotic. Okay, don't go there. Yeah. Now, it may happen, but I'm saying in terms of when you've got that guy at quarterback, 17. When you got him, and you generally have other pieces that can be good enough surrounding him. Good enough doesn't mean great. They've had great around him. Great is not there at its best, and that includes Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer at their healthiest, best. This team was a absolute plug-in for Super Bowl appearance when Stephon Diggs was catching passes from Josh Allen. That's a fact. That's how they got to that level, right? Anyone who wants to be upset about or soured on Stephon after last year, I get that too. But you can't deny what that was. So in terms of how you judge Sean, he's got to win something to give you that sense that he needs. I mean, it's easy to say after Marv, he's number 2, and of course the records support all of that. But let's look at the body of this team's. And I started covering the Bills when Chuck Knox was the head coach.
Gotcha.
So Chuck Knox was considered competent, really good at what he did.
Yep.
Ends up going to Seattle, ends up having a real falling out with Ralph Wilson. You could see it coming, and he would confide in me how unhappy he was with the way things were run from a ownership and GM standpoint, and fans were very sour at that point on Ralph. They're always unhappy with ownership, generally, but the team went through so many those lean years of 2-14 before Marv shows up. Wade Phillips probably falls into that third area just because of, again, generally speaking, the dark days began after he got them to the postseason. Almost everybody else on the list is everybody else. They're not. Are they even worthy of it?
Lou Saban, maybe, right? But
Lou for sure. I put Lou in his own category because that was Lou, the AFL coach. Yes, Lou was excellent, but comparing eras, that's very different. And staffing was different. The league, everything. I'm using, even though he counts in the somewhat in the modern era. And yes, I have the highest respect for what Lou did.
Yeah,
but. I'm going with from a more modern conversation. Those three, I would say to you that it is high time that they have to win something.
Yeah,
get there to win something, or else the same conversation of not being able to climb that final mountain won't go away. Does it mean that I'm sitting here thinking it's Super Bowl or bust for Sean's future? Not at all. He and Brandon Beane have, extensions through 2027. I realize coaches get paid not to coach, and the Bills organization has done that with Bills and Sabre. The ownership has done it with Bills and Sabres coaches and GMs. But I feel like from a fan standpoint and from a credibility standpoint, if you're counting on them to be a postseason team, what you're really asking, when I hear people say, what do you think? How many games are they going to win? I said, it's some variation of 10, 11 wins.
Right.
Who cares? I mean, it matters, but what are you really asking me is, are they going to win in January?
That's right.
Are they going to win in January? And if they don't, then, and the same old thing happens, then you're going to say, well, why didn't they win in January? And there's a list, right? It includes some crazy things, not the least of which is 13 seconds, different things that, and then just beat down by Cincinnati at home. And then all the unfortunate series of mishaps, let's call it series of mishaps against Kansas City in the divisional round in a winnable game. There's your list. And it's longer than that, but you start to say to yourself, what do they have to do to get there? Because what was the constant conversation in the whole thing? Can they get over the Kansas City hump?
Yep.
You know when they'll get over the hump? They'll get over the hump when the Chiefs have to play in Orchard Park.
Nope.
Guess what they did? They did, and it didn't happen. So, until they're and I'm looking at the terrain right now, and it's only 2 weeks. Chiefs have not particularly played two great games, and they're 2-0, and they have found ways to win. And in terms of the rest of it, I mean, I don't know who else is lighting my fire about football. I mean, sure, I thought Baltimore would be much better, as did everybody else. Houston Texans look real. They look legit. The Chargers look legit. They're far better coached. And all of a sudden, Justin Herbert with a run game and a defense. Wow. Look at that. So I think the terrain could even be tougher than it was before. I don't know about Cincinnati. It's probably dangerous to leave them for dead at 0-2.
Agreed.
Well coached. Still got Joe Burrow. Still got Jamar Chase. See when however this T Higgins thing works out, but it's going to be an interesting ride. I expect, again, and this is where the judgment of Sean will also be heightened, scrutinized. I suspect more games, again, are going to resemble that Arizona game in terms of how it ended. So what do you need in a game like that? You need exceptional coaching. You need exceptional decisions. But more importantly, you need to do what you did to get those guys ready. Like, so Jamarcus Ingram can make the play like he made. So Cam Lewis holds up well when he's replacing an all-pro in Teron Johnson.
So looking back at those last 3 playoff losses, I was at all 3 of those games. So maybe the problem's me. I was in Kansas City for 13 seconds. I was at the Bengals game, and then which was the most odd walkout experience of that stadium I've ever experienced.
Sean keeps track of who was there and who jinxed him.
Oh, that's funny. So speaking of John Fina is the last question, and this is just a fun. Literally, he's the legend of the game this week for the Jaguars game. So he gets to come out and do the whole hey thing and all that. Any advice or tips for him that I can pass along before I get you out of here?
And I think John will handle it nicely, but in terms of I feel like it's being overused. Everyone's not everyone, but it feels like the majority. I haven't kept track. Of the legends do the where would you rather be than right here, right now, like the thing that they know that the stadium will get into. So John, being this highly intellectual man that he is, I would hope he comes up with a script that just gets them. Now, he may not have a choice. I think it's very team controlled. So they may tell him what he has to say. And I'm guessing that's really going to be the case. If he goes off script, he'll never be a legend again, at the stadium.
Vic, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I kept you longer than I said I would, so thank you for just being gracious. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into On the Beat on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. So good for having you guys with us. Please please subscribe again. Tomorrow, Hump Day Hotline. Thursday, the Big O Show with Jerry Ostrowski, and then we will do a pregame show for you on Sunday. But for me, for John, for Jerry, for Vic, go Bills. Appreciate you guys.